In this section about onstage techniques, now we're going to speak about audience participation and audience interaction. Now, I know that each one of us can relate to how it feels when you're called upon by a speaker to participate in something. So, as much as possible, I like to, as a speaker, make it optional. And I never point out someone who has decided not to participate in something. And I especially never point to someone and make them respond to me, because that's just going to create anxiety in your audience. You don't want to do that unless you're sort of doing it for fun, I suppose. But there's a few ways you can utilize the audience and engage them rather than them sort of watching a lecture the whole entire time, is to make sure that you integrate a few polls and moments in your talk where you can ask the audience to give you their reaction, or perhaps ask them a question. Hands up, anyone who's been through this situation, that sort of thing. It can help to remind the room that there are other people in the room going through this particular thing that you're talking about. And it can also give you a sense of which direction to take your presentation. If not so many people put their hand up for a certain thing, then you'll know, okay, I'm not going to spend that much time on overcoming that particular issue because there's not so many people in the room facing that. But when you're using, just simply the raising of the hands is probably the easiest one. But sometimes you can take it further than that. I know Bruce Sullivan's a great speaker who speaks about getting out of bed with the energy of a 4-year-old every day, something like that. And he does these great talks about relationships and understanding the different communication techniques and preferences that people have. And he uses this great metaphor where he says, right, we're going to organize a picnic, and the picnic is going to be in 4 days' time. Now, anyone in the room who is sitting there thinking, oh, 4 days isn't enough, I need more time, you go over to that corner over there. Anyone in the room who is thinking, are we going to have wine? What sort of food are we going to have? Are we going to have snacks? You go over to the room over there, that side of the room over there. So you can see that there's different people that think something, that start going down a certain path of thought when given a task like that. And he sends them all to these 4 different corners of the room. And that helps people to understand that everyone thinks differently, everyone communicates differently. And when I'm communicating with someone who needed more time to plan a picnic, but all I'm thinking about is the food and the wine, and I need to work with that person to plan the picnic, I need to be respectful of their communication techniques and how they need to hear from me to get my message through. So audience participation can be as simple as hands up, or it can be as complicated as moving people around the room to make your point. But you might also use technology. So there's a great platform built in Australia called Slido, Slido. So go to slido.com and have a look at that, because you can actually use Slido. I've used it just recently, in fact, in a PowerPoint presentation where you can ask the room to scan a QR code with their phone and answer the question that comes up on their phone. And in your presentation itself, a word cloud appears as people are answering the question, and that word cloud, the words that are most commonly selected are appearing bigger and that sort of thing. It's an incredibly effective technique to get sentiment and question from the room and show all of that sort of stuff in live real time. So definitely use that sort of thing. Polls and questionnaires and very quick, simple things that help you to take the temperature of the room on certain things. And the other one is activities. Obviously, it's super effective to have time in your talk to give the audience a chance to speak amongst themselves or work solo, or even in their table groups if they're at round tables. So anytime you have landed a certain point or introduced a certain concept in your talk, give the audience a chance to then have a chat to each other or at the round table about how they have faced that particular situation, or a change that they might like to make based on something that you've just taught them. And, if you have time, you can go around the room asking people to give examples, or, have one table leader who is going to be the one that speaks for the table. There's usually one person at each table who's very happy to be picked on to speak, and you can definitely use the audience in that way. So those are just a few tips.